competition in the nail industry, Tracy. Tracy, if you're my competition and I'm a nail tech, I'm going to take you out because that's how I deal with competition. Know what I'm saying? Don't get in my way, Trace. Don't do it. How would you feel if I was a salon down the street and you know I'm gunning for you, Trace?
You know how
intimidated?
I'm competitive, so bring it.
You are competitive.
I am so competitive. I went axe throwing with my friends, and she's like, "You are very competitive." I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Well, you said in the beginning, though, that you weren't doing so good, and then you started kicking everybody's butt. Is that what happened?
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You're competitive." I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Like...
You should know this by now.
So this is a skill you've learned. Stan should not mess with your husband. Should not mess with you.
No,
you
can.
Do you keep axes now?
I know how to throw.
You have an inventory.
Getting some.
What if he walked in the house and you just had like axes everywhere, like a whole collection? Stan, baby, learning some things.
Learning, making notes, taking notes, watching
Don't
those
piss me off.
murder mysteries.
Okay, that's typically
I forgot what the subject
is competition in the nail industry.
Thank you.
This is usually people have this very aggressive sort of like outlook on competition in the nail industry.
Yep.
And I think it can cause a lot of stress, undue, like you don't need it. They're so worried about the salon down the street that they're changing their prices. They're adjusting things like, oh, I shouldn't charge this much. That can cause so much anxiety. So let's start from the beginning of like just generally speaking, how did you deal with competitors, other salons, during when you were doing nails?
I didn't worry about them. Now, I was aware of my competitors. And of course, I wanted to destroy them. And I was aware of what they were charging. But there's enough clientele for everybody. And believe me, if you're losing clientele, it's not because of your competitor.
So, okay, wait. I need to ask you this because that's so interesting, right? You have this very fiery competitive side to you. Like I want to crush. Yes. But at the same sentence, you're saying, but I didn't worry about them.
I didn't worry about them.
So...
Because people get nasty.
Yes, they do.
They get nasty. There's a reason why I always say that I was able to go from having one of the top salons in the town to owning that salon still and being able to distribute product to all the other salons.
Right.
Because even though they were my competition, I was always very nice to them. I never talked crap about people. You never know when you're going to be on the other side of the table of them. Or maybe you need a job from them. Or you want to sell them product. You know, there's just no need for that level of competition. I've seen it, and it gets so nasty. And again, I knew when I got my confidence that if I was losing clientele, it was not because of Habib down the street.
It's because something's going on with your nails.
Something's going on with me. And when people want to blame their competition before they want to blame themselves.
Something that you always say, sorry. God, man, it's never ending. Something that you always say, Trace, is when you set pricing, you're aware of the area's pricing.
Absolutely.
But you're not.
It does not dictate my pricing.
Okay, so can you explain that? Because I think that's very interesting. And this is like probably one of the things that people focus on the most when it comes to they're undercutting me. And, it's that whole thing.
Getting this weird price competition.
Yes.
And it does nobody good. So, we actually had this on Twitch this morning. We have a lot of walk-in salons. The pricing's lower. Yep, so did I. And I was in a business park that had no business having a nail salon in there. It wasn't a place it wasn't a strip mall or where you would expect to have a salon.
No foot traffic.
Zero foot traffic. There were salons all around me. I was aware of their pricing. I was higher than everybody. And I liked it that way. But there's a clientele for them. There's a clientele for me. Now, let me say this, though. If everybody's charging $60, for instance, and you're charging $600 for a set,
you only need one.
There is a fine line. But I was aware and the reason I was aware is I wanted to be in the ballpark of my competition, but I always want to be on the higher end of
right.
it, So I find out that Habib down the street is charging twice what I am, and he's busy. What am I doing?
Right.
That's what I needed. That's the information. information.
That's the info that you need. How can I like improve my business? Not I'm going to slash and run promos and talk smack.
I've seen it so many times where we talk about this at our 1 week course. Habib goes, I'm going to charge 60. I'm like, well, I'm going to charge 45. And he's like, well, I'm going to charge 40. And I'm like, I'm going to charge 35. We actually price ourselves to a point that someone goes, they must not be very good.
Of course.
You know, you bring your pricing down so low. First, you're not making it.
Right.
You know, you're struggling and you're like working all these hours, have all these clients, and yet you're not making it. It's because that's a good indication that your pricing is too low.
Right.
Or two, there's perceived value. And we've talked about this many times. If you know, there's a reason why people want to go buy a Louis. They perceive that is a way better purse or shoe or whatever. Now, there are people like me that will still go to Walmart and get their whatever they want, but there's perceived value in that. And there's a clientele for that. And there's a clientele for you. And you don't get yourself in a pricing war.
Yeah. I always like, you know, even young nails, right? We have the same sort of like thought process when it comes to competition, right? We're aware of our competitors,
100%,
right? But if I ever need to call one of the competitors, we're cordial. We are nice to each other. Like
there's shows we go to, we see them.
We see them all the time. We say hello.
Hey, how's the family?
100%.
What would be the point to be nasty to each other?
It's totally pointless. Yeah. We're aware of what's going on, but here's the when it comes to competition, and I think this is so important, I think for nail technicians, you know, just because it's more in your face with nails. With our brand, we're not seeing our competition every single day, like on the corner or around, or like I drive to work and I have to see them. But I think it's really, really important where you've got to you have to improve your own business. So competing against yourself is the ultimate competition. So
how are you going to pressure yourself to be better?
Exactly.
Yep.
I remember when we were really small and we were in Anaheim down the street and we had 1,800 square foot, and we would buy files from one of our competitors at the time because we weren't making our own files. They were private labeling for us. They were right down the street. So I would have to go down there and buy files. So I'd walk into their company and I was just like, oh my God, huge,
this
right?
Is what I want.
Yeah. And I was like, when will we ever get to this point? But I wasn't like competing against them with myself. I wasn't like, we have to get there and, you know, what are they doing? And it was just, okay, that's the goal, but how can I make myself a little bit better than I was last week?
Yep.
What are some things we can put in place to make ourselves a little bit better? And as long as we're doing that, I believed we would get to that point. Not only did we get to that point, we surpassed so many of our competitors. I would actually argue we have surpassed all of our competitors because nobody's doing what we are doing today. How do we do that? We're judging ourselves. We're looking at our own selves and like, how can I get better? So same thing with nails. You know, you did the same thing. You were aware of your surroundings, but when it comes to competition, it's like, well, how can I make myself better than I was like last week?
That's healthy competition. That's
healthy competition.
But you can't, you know, if you were failing at the business, you can't say, well, it's their fault down the street.
Right.
It's their fault. They're taking all my clients. No, it might be you're not doing good work, or there's a reason, and usually it involves looking in the mirror at yourself.
It's almost like a cop out, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you were competing and you're so focused on the competition of what they're doing, and then you're adjusting to everything they're doing, when you fail, you just blame them.
Yep.
You're like, it's not my fault. You know, it's the restaurant down the street. Mm-hmm. You know, they're outpricing me and it sucks and or it's the big businesses that have come into town and they've ruined. Look, that does happen.
Yeah.
But if like we've had to deal with that, we've had to deal with massive companies trying to like outcompete us. I mean, when we were distributing, if you remember, Tracy, when we're distributing to these big chain nail retailers, mm-hmm. we're on the shelf next to these massive brands. Nobody knew who the hell we were. We were getting crushed. I could have easily said, it's their fault. You know, they're the ones screwing us up. What do? We just continue to make ourselves better.
Yeah.
And
it's like, we've got to work on Young Nails brand.
Exactly.
How are we going to set ourselves apart? What can we do to do different than them? Again, using the competition, that's healthy competition.
Exactly.
But you're finding your space.
Yes.
In the game.
Yes.
And once you do that, you don't lose clientele, even in salon, you know, oh, she's trying to steal my clients. If your clients really like you, they're not going anywhere.
Exactly. You have to innovate mm-hmm. some way, shape, or form, right? So like probably the most common thing we hear with a lot of nail technicians is they're like, how do I compete with these salons pricing? Like, innovate, mm-hmm. you know, why not bring designs and techniques to your market that maybe other salons aren't? Yep. We're always introducing new styles of nail products. We're always bringing in new techniques. You know, one of the ways we innovated, we completely reinvented our entire brand by going full force social media 7-8 years ago, right? We had to remarket and completely reinvent
everything,
our entire company. And it worked,
yep.
you know, and we were trying different things for so long. I'm not saying you have to like, you know, do what we did to that extreme, but maybe is your marketing game as good?
Yep.
Should you be putting out more content? Should you be maybe looking at what we're doing as a brand, Young Nails, and take some tips from there and applying it to your own local business? You know, what about bringing in a lot of the art stuff that we have, Trace, there's so many salons that don't do it or don't utilize it or don't offer these to clientele.
Keep it fresh. And that's what we try to do. Even we do a lot of in and out stuff. Why? It keeps it fresh. It keeps people excited. You have to do that with your clientele. And then the number one thing I can say is have a personality.
Right.
You can do the best nails in the world. And if you're not nice, if you don't have that, you're probably going to lose clientele to your competition because they're nice.
Because they're nice.
You have to be nice.
Being nice, customer service,
mm-hmm.
all these things go.
Innovation. Make it fresh, make it new, keep it clean, all that. Find your space. What you are the brand. You are a brand.
You're a brand.
So what do you want your brand to represent?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Exactly. And I just always love like people like nail art is always such a great way to bring innovation into your salon. People are like, well, I'm not an artist, you know. Dude,
yeah,
there are such simple ways like doing glitter presses or color combos, learning color, what goes good with what. Seasonally, I'm going to offer these colors with maybe these nail art and these glitters and put them on display, put them on my Instagram so people can see, hey, I'm offering these designs for this season. Check out these colors. What do you like? You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. You gotta keep it fresh. And I've never been that person that's gonna, hey, let me paint something for you. It's just not gonna happen, but I've always done art. And I think that's where some people don't realize is exactly what you're saying. If you have color combo, if you have glitters, you can do a ton of things. Does your shaping set you apart from everybody else? Is your shaping on point? You know people will just come to you to get nude nails just if your shaping's beautiful. So what is that? That you can say, hey, I specialize in this.
Right, and it's so important. You mentioned this earlier. I don't know if it was on this one or an episode before, but you'd mentioned this. Somebody comes to you and they're like, I want this nail art. And it's like all crazy. And you know, well, it's okay to say, I don't do this.
Please admit you don't do it.
Just admit it.
Just admit it.
Yeah.
You will save everybody a lot of stress, you know. You know what? I don't do that, but let you know, and this is why we ask people what they're looking for before to send pics, things like that. You know, sending them to your Instagram so they see the work that you do.
Right.
You know, that's going to save a lot of that conversation.
Right. So, sum it up. Listen, you cannot be aware of your competition.
Competition's good.
Competition's good. Use it to innovate your business. Hey, so-and-so's doing this. I want to stand out. I want to improve my business. I'm going to offer these services. I'm going to do these nail art. Price-wise, don't get into the slashing price game. Keep your prices. I like that, you know, to be one of the more expensive in the area. Be aware of pricing, but don't go into a price war.
Don't let it control you, and always be nice to your competition.
Always be nice to your competition. You never know. It's always good. Again, you gave one great example I'll never forget, which is like you have a client that comes in and tries to get free sets by complaining. You can let other salon let each other know, hey guys, check it out. There's this client. She may come to you, just letting you know. Dude, respect each other. Be aware of each other.
Always nice to have that kind of network.
Absolutely. Love it, Trace.
Subscribe channel now. Subscribe channel now. Subscribe